It was 1979, and we were attending the Jehovah's Witnesses summer convention at the Providence Civic Center in Rhode Island. There were about 20,000 people that in there, and the witnesses rented the Civic Center. And on the way out, on the way home, we happened to drive by the front entrance, and we noticed that there were about a half a dozen Christians outside carrying picket signs. And one of those signs said, "Read the Bible, not the Watchtower." Now, my wife Penny and I were offended by the fact that they were picketing us. I mean, we didn't like that. But Penny turned to me and she said, "You know, David, we should read the Bible. We should be reading the Bible." So we both talked about it, and there was nothing wrong with reading the Bible as a Jehovah's Witness. In fact, one of the Watchtower buildings in Brooklyn, New York, at their headquarters, had a big sign that said, "Read God's Word, the Bible, daily." But what actually happens, in fact, is that the Watchtower organization gives their people so many Watchtower magazines, so many Awake magazines, so many books and booklets, and Kingdom Ministry publications and study articles, and a whole program of study that they don't really read the Bible. And as a Jehovah's Witness elder, I remember speaking with another Jehovah's Witness elder in my congregation, and he said, "You know, David, I'd really like to read the Bible someday, from cover to cover." So he was a witness elder leading the congregation, but had never read the Bible. And that was typical, because I actually sat down and calculated that the witnesses study program assigned us about 2,000 pages a year of Watchtower materials to read, and less than 200 pages of Bible reading. And the average witness I knew never finished the material the Watchtower gave them and never got around to the Bible reading. So Penny and I decided to start reading the Bible. We didn't have any thought at all about the Watchtower being wrong, or about leaving the Watchtower, or that there was some lack because we weren't reading the Bible. We just decided to read the Bible to become better Jehovah's Witnesses. And so we did. We started reading the Bible, and we thought, we might get more out of it if we read a different translation, because the witnesses are given the New World Translation to read. But we used to hear sometimes our district overseers would quote from some other translations, and we heard that the Living Bible used the name Jehovah in the Old Testament, and we felt comfortable with that. And so we went to a Christian bookstore and bought a copy of the Living Bible and started reading it. And we also read in the New World Translation. And what happened was that we found Jesus. We began to really identify with Jesus and identify with his teachings and have a love for Jesus, and we wanted to follow him. Now, to a Jehovah's Witness, Jesus is just an angel. He's the first angel God created. He's not divine. He's not the Son of God. You can't pray to him. You can't talk to him. He can't answer you. He can't do anything in your life. I mean, this is how witnesses view Jesus, and we didn't change that. I mean, we just thought Jesus is wonderful. We want to be his followers. And as we continued reading, I began to see myself as a Jehovah's Witness elder as being more like the Pharisees I was reading about than like Jesus and his followers. And I remember in particular reading the passage where Jesus said to the religious leaders of his day that Isaiah prophesied about you. Now I'm just paraphrasing this, that you honor me with your lips, and it's the commands of men that you're teaching as doctrines. And I began to realize that about myself gradually, that as a Jehovah's Witness elder, I was teaching man-made doctrines. We had doctrines about what color shirt you could wear, how you had to dress, how you had to cut your hair, and all sorts of things like that. And I began to think, well, that's like what the Pharisees would do, not what Jesus would do. And at the same time, Penny was drawing closer to Jesus as she read the Bible. And she was going house to house with one of her Jehovah's Witness friends, and they were both pioneering, which meant that they were devoting their full time that month to going door to door. And Penny was talking about Jesus all the time. And her friend, who was a long-time Jehovah's Witness, very dedicated, she said to Penny, Jesus, 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 all you talk about now is Jesus. I'm sick of hearing about Jesus. So, so both of us were drawing closer to Jesus, and it was a long process for that to get us out of the watchtower. I mean, there's a lot involved. There's a whole long story. It took about 3 years until we finally got out of the watchtower and were born again.
Your story is just so amazing, but the thing that just has really impressed me is the fact that a sign held up by some random Christian all those decades ago was the initial seed that was planted in Penny's heart, your heart, to get you to read the Bible without the watchtower. Would you say that is true?
Oh, absolutely. That picket sign that said, read the Bible, not the watchtower, that was the thing that started us off on the road to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses and to become real Christians. That was definitely the starting point for us.
And David, why do you think that kicked open the door?
Well, there's nothing wrong with reading the Bible from a Jehovah's Witness standpoint, and if they do start reading the Bible, the Word of God is alive, and it will do something to them. It will touch their hearts, and that's what it did to us. And that's why it's so important to encourage Jehovah's Witnesses to just read the Bible, and that sign does that. Because eventually we began to realize the watchtower was wrong, and that sign sort of helped lead us in that direction. My final sermon as a Jehovah's Witness presiding overseer, where I was leading the congregation like a pastor in a Christian church, my final sermon at the Kingdom Hall, I told them, if you don't have time to read both the Bible and the watchtower, read the Bible instead. Because the watchtower has been wrong over the years and had to change its teaching, and the Bible is God's eternal word of truth. Of course, you could have heard a pin drop at the Kingdom Hall when I said that, and they never let me up into the pulpit again. But that's really the distinction, is the Bible is right and the watchtower is wrong.